So the reason that I'm bringing this up is it segues into one of the other things that I wanted to be able to talk about, which is AI doesn't necessarily replace your creativity. What it does is it gives you the opportunity to be able to identify things that you can outsource to, but it's never really in a position to be able to replace you. Now, even though it's up to January 2025, we're in October now. Think about all the things that have happened in between January and October. And unless you're dropping the links in, unless you're giving it the extra information that it needs, it goes back to the saying, and it's a little crude, but garbage in, garbage out. So if you're not giving it the information that it needs, you're not going to be able to get the output that you need. So there are a lot of creative people like copywriters that are feeling like their jobs or their careers are in jeopardy. I think there's an opportunity for them to really be able to shift and start looking at new ways to be able to leverage AI, and not look at it so much as something that's trying to replace them, but something that actually can streamline the work that they actually get to do. And that was one of the things that made me so excited about having a conversation with you. So, with that, what would you say to creatives who feel like their work is being devalued by AI tools?
Yeah. I'm gonna say something you just said, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Mm,
And so if everything on the internet, all the blogs and everything on the internet is in AI, well, it has a lot of misinformation. It has a lot of really bad writing examples. It has
mm,
a lot of really bad stuff happening. And so if you are a good copywriter, you can look at what AI spits out and you can see like this is not good. We have editors on my team and
mm,
they edit books and sometimes they get a book to edit for an evaluation and they say to me this is all AI. This is like it's so obvious. It's such awful writing. There's no way that the human who did this in ChatGPT could write worse. Right?
yeah,
Just at this point.
yeah,
Now, maybe that will change. Maybe AI will have at some point a way to write really well. But
mm,
AI is really good as a partner for a creative,
yeah,
but not as the creative, at least not yet. I don't know about the future, but I can only talk about what's now. So if you have an idea or a client comes to you and says, I have an idea, we want to do a web page or an ad or whatever it happens to be, if they went to AI and they did that and they came to you and they paid you and you did it, I guarantee that the human written material is going to be better than the chat GPT material. Now, what if though, Sean? What if?
mm,
What if the copywriter was using AI
mm,
and saying, okay, you are, you are good at, there are things you are good at. I'm going to get AI to do the things that AI is good at. And then I'm going to turn that into an even better
yeah,
copy for the website. What
yeah,
if, as a copywriter, you could be using AI, or maybe the client gives you this is what we got out of AI. Maybe your job now is give me your AI copy and I'll make it better.
yes,
And what if that's how you advertise yourself now? Give me your AI copy and I'll make it better. Instead of saying, oh, AI is a threat to me, it's like, well, how
hmm
do I incorporate AI into my world so that I provide an even better service to my clients? I think that's a really good question to ask yourself if you are a creative and you are
hmm
afraid of AI.
No, I love it. One of the things that comes to mind when we had the conversation, and then listening to you say it here is, uh, I think there's a difference between some people that just kind of go into fields and they're not necessarily experts at it. I was someone that fell in love with the process. Once I identified that there was a process and there was something that was repeatable and it was cyclical, then it was something where it's like, okay, well, if this is a rinse and repeat type of situation, then I want to understand what it looks like. So for me, when I start having conversations with copywriters, and admittedly, I was someone that when AI came out and people started saying, "Oh, well, I can use it for this, I can use it for that," I was like, my issue with it is it's lowered the entry point for entrepreneurship. It's made it feel like there's an easy button, but you'd have to be an entrepreneur to understand that it doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easier. It actually gets more complicated. If you look at the failure rate, you'll see that there's different factors that go into it. So, my concern was that it was making people think that it was easier than it was to be able to go into. But
Yes.
I will say one of the beauties of AI and everything that it's been doing is now, if you understand the process and you understand the workflow, you can just move further ahead or further back into the workflow and find places to be able to make it work. Very much what you said. There are web designers that will say, "Well, I need to get content for the website." I can't tell you how many times when I used to build websites for people, I would get all of my work done, and then we would get to the part where I said, "Okay, well now I need the content," and they would say, "Oh," and just and I'm like, you do realize you're gonna need to come up with that. So I went from just doing the website to basically building out the business model because it's like the content actually has to make sense for the website. And then
Yeah.
it also has to make sense for the audience. And then you have to figure out how they're going to be able to turn things into actual transactions and all the rest of that. So um, AI now allows them to be able to go in and say, okay, well, I need to have content. And AI will start to ask you the questions that you need to be able to answer so that when you go to a web designer, then you can say, okay, well, here's what I want.
Yeah.
And it allows you to be able to get to that point faster. And I can almost guarantee that the prices of these web designs actually can go down because they don't have to charge you for the time it takes for them to come up with the content.
Yeah.
Same thing with the copywriters. If you can give them there's several ways that you can go about it. Like if you give them prompts so that they can go in and basically get interviewed and then come back and give you copy, then you go from being someone that had to pull all of that information out of them to someone that can help them organize their thoughts and figure out how to be able to convey it in a better way. I think there are definitely advantages to being able to leverage AI. One thing I will say, and I noticed more recently, is I can't speak for all of the platforms, but Claude, somewhere along the lines, more so recently, they added in a level of discernment. So it's started to add in a certain level of pushback. So where it was always agreeable before, ChatGPT and a lot of them were always agreeable. It was just like, sure, you can do that. Sure, you can do that. Now I realize as a strategist, I'll go in and I'll brainstorm, and it starts to kick back things and says, well, I don't know if you can do that. And I honestly found myself going back and forth with it, arguing, going, "You don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I can do that." And it got to the point where I was like, "You're a real wet blanket. Like you're just trying to just roll off everything that I want to be able to do." And it's because it can see the picture of all the things up to a certain point. So where I said for Claude, it's up to January 2025. For ChatGPT, I'm going to say it's June 2024. If it's only going by the strategies and things that were fed into it up to that point, and you're not giving it links and things as a frame of reference, it's going to be basing it on old information, old strategies, old tactics, and things that you can't necessarily leverage the same way. So, as much as it is something that people can leverage to be able to get a starting point, I don't think it's the end point. And I think that's where we have that conversation of garbage in, garbage out. You can put in like if you have a copywriter, if you have someone that can give you the information so that you start with enough information to get something good back out, great content in, great content out. So they can either move themselves to the very beginning and help them create prompts to help people get to the point that they want to be able to get to. I basically say there are some people that are more transactional and some people that are more nurturing. I would
Yeah.
consider you someone that's more nurturing, uh,
Yeah.
as opposed to some of the people that are more transactional. Transactional is in the point of I want to be able to give you the thing and then go on about my business, as opposed to someone that's nurturing that is more of an educator and wants to make sure that they're empowering the person. So if there's someone that's transactional, create the prompts, give the people the prompts and allow them to be able to come up with the content and everything that they need from there. And then maybe if you want, you can do the copy editing, but you can get your money on the front end as opposed to someone that's more nurturing and say, okay, gather your thoughts, come back to me, and I'll help organize those thoughts and make sure that you get to where you want to be able to go and whatever your definition of success is. So I think there's so much room for people. And the better you understand the workflow, the more you can find out the places where you can add value based on your personality and the type of business that you want to be able to
Yeah.
have.